so far this season,
Yes.
has there been a team that's been more impressive based on the level of competition that they've played than what UConn has put together? Right. I had doubts about this group coming in. Right. I had questions about the point guard play. I had questions about how all of these pieces were going to fit together. I had questions about how you're going to build a team around two centers that are just kind of do their damage in the paint. And the defensive effort that they've put together, the play of Tristan Newton overall, development of Jordan Hawkins, and the way, like, I want to give Coach Hurley credit too, because the way that he's been able to kind of scheme sets to get Sanogo Duckins, to be able to keep the offense moving like this so that you can't really set your defense against them. It's been really, really impressive to watch. And Fanny, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but there aren't very many teams that have the ability to be like as malleable when it comes to matchups, right? If you want to play big, they can match you big for big. If they want to play small, if you want to go small against them, then they can match you small for small. If they want to go switchable, they can play four guys around Sanogo that are all 6'5" to 6'8" and crazy athletic. I have no idea. I don't want to make any comment on how good they are, because I am very obviously biased and I don't trust my own opinion on it, because every time I watch them play, I'm like, yeah, it's the greatest team I've ever seen. Right. And every time they do something wrong, I'm like, they fucking suck. Fire the entire coaching staff, fire the entire program into the sun. Right. That's who I am as a fan when it comes to every sport. But I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong here. How many teams have been more impressive based off of the level of competition? Is there, like, Houston's been dominating people. I think Texas is probably above them. I would argue that Arizona and Creighton are up there, but like, are there 10 teams that have been better than UConn this season? I don't know if there are.
I mean, maybe you throw Tennessee in there too, just based on what they just did. And we saw what they did against Gonzaga in terms of the charity exhibition. I know it didn't count, but I would throw them in there. But I just thought the most impressive thing, and we didn't get to see a ton of the second half because we've been on here, but just how they played in transition, how they responded, right? Because they didn't finish the first half very well at all, right? They got up big. I think they were up 15, 17 points. Alabama makes a run. They cut into it, even going into the half. There's a little scuffle there at the half, and then to see them respond and put the performance they did in the second half. Yeah, I don't see 10 teams better than them. Not based on what they've done this season, not at all.
Because last year after that moment, I'm sorry to cut you off and let you go, Fan. Last year after that moment, like after the giving up that lead at halftime, after a little scuffle, like UConn would have folded last year, right? They wouldn't have found a way to come back and win that game, especially after Alabama came back and took the lead. Tonight, they fought back. They kept fighting defensively. They got to the line. They got free throws when they couldn't really do anything else offensively. And then all it took, little 12-0 spurt with about 5 minutes left in the game, pulled them away. They end up winning by 15. It looks a lot. The scorebook is going to look a lot worse than what I think the actual game was. Alabama's a really good team, and they're only going to get better because they're so young. But that I was very, very impressed with what I saw today. I'm trying to be as unbiased possible here, Fana.
Here's the deal. This is truly Dan Hurley's best team that he's had at Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And I say team with an emphasis. He's had great players. He's had really skilled players. He had a lead guard in R.J. Cole last year who did things last year they don't really have from one guy this year. But the way that UConn plays, this team fits Hurley's DNA because they come at you in waves. Last year's team got worn down. At the end of the season, they were not who they were in December, January, and even the beginning part of February. They fell apart because they didn't have enough options and they didn't have enough perimeter shooting. And what does it do for UConn when you give a team that's tough, that's physical, that's defensively sound, that has an elite big man inside? And Adama Sanogo is playing like an All-American. Not an honorable mention, not a second teamer. Adama Sanogo is playing like a first-team All-American. He's playing like one of the best 5-6 players in college basketball. But when you give a team that's as physical and tough as they are, perimeter shooting on a consistent level, you get a team that can be a dark horse to make a deep NCAA tournament run. And that's the one thing that Hurley's been knocked on is you got to make the March run. And he knows it's hard.
UConn,
and he
man.
knows
Like
he's
you
got to do
can't.
it.
The UConn fans, UConn fans have an expectation that no matter what their seed is going into the tournament, they're gonna win the national title, right? Like if you get into the tournament, you're the favorite to win it because Kemba Walker and Shabazz Napier set a ridiculous standard of expectation.
Of course, and that's why. And that's
here's
why
the
it's
baffling
a little unfair.
You don't. I do a UConn podcast and I tweet about UConn a lot. Everybody knows I'm a UConn fan, right? You would be baffled by how many people hit me up or DM me or tweet at me and they're just like, UConn needs to fire Dan Hurley. He can't get it. I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about, man? Like this dude came into the AAC. They were under 500 in the AAC when he got the job. What are we doing here?
That's standards. That's standards. It's UConn fans. You know, they're about as passionate as you're going to find. And part of that can be good. And Coach McCall, you know, part of that can be the other way. But here's what we know about UConn guys. They've been as impressive as any team in the PK 85 through 2 days. And the reason for it is, you know, they're tough. You know, they're going to walk in and fight you because that's what they do. They got different ways to score the ball, coach. Like this is not a one-dimensional team. And it's almost by having different options in the backcourt is better than having just one really, really good one. You feel like it can come from different areas, right?
I think it comes from different areas. I think it's also, you know, any Coach Hurley team is going to be tough, just like you said, but there's a level of unselfishness when you watch them play. The ball is moving. The ball is getting fired up the floor. It's not sticking. It's not one pick and roll and someone try to create a hero play or take a difficult shot. It's moving around and hopping around, and they have a conscious effort of playing the game unselfishly, which makes them that much more difficult to guard. You know they're going to play hard. They're going to defend. They're going to play with tremendous effort. You throw that unselfishness piece in there with the talent that they have out there, it'll be a hard team to beat.
Mm-hmm. And just let me plug something real quick, Fana. On Sunday, 3:30 Eastern time, you mentioned that Duke and whoever wins this Gonzaga-Purdue game is going to be playing on ABC. We're going to be doing a watch party on Watch Playback. It is at playback.tv. I'll tweet out the link so everybody has it. It's playback.tv/field of 68. We're going to just go in, sign up, hang out. We're going to watch the game together. We'll turn down the Bill Walton audio just a little bit so you don't have to get overwhelmed by it. You can hear me. And if we're blessed enough, maybe we can have Fanta and Coach McCall on with us too.
Hey,
Bill Walton was talking about the Grateful Dead earlier. I forget who was walking in the gym. He's like, "Does he have a Grateful Dead shirt on?" Like, I don't think Bill was like, "Grateful Dead shirt."
Bill was like, "I don't know how we." It was Zach Edey. Bill was like, "I don't know how we got
Zach
that."
Edey, that's what it was.
And Roxy Bernstein was like, "Bill, you can say that you gave it to him. It's okay now. NIL is allowed." And I was just like, he doesn't want to get a recruiting violation for giving that shirt out. Oh man, that was funny.
The other thing is, one last thought on UConn. Sometimes by scheduling easier up front, it helps you when you get out to these events. They got to play with each other. They got to play through some mistakes. They got to sort of go through some of the things that maybe if you go through against a tougher team, you're not as prone to handle it in that moment. Like Hurley scheduled purposefully up front, not necessarily hard, knowing that he'd be in this PK 85. Now you thought on paper, hey, we make it to the final, we get Carolina. Now they'll get Caleb Grill, who's become now America's favorite, and Iowa State on Sunday night. That game's going to be 10 Eastern time, ESPN Sunday, Iowa State and UConn. So now think about this, guys. A consolation game will feature North Carolina and Alabama. That's crazy. That tells you about PK 85. But let's transition.
I don't know what it's like to be in consolation games, Fanta. Championships only.
Okay, enough. We got